The morning sun had barely lifted over the city skyline when the world changed for a single father named Rowan Hart. He was stepping out of the small bakery where he worked part-time, holding a steaming paper bag of leftover bread he was allowed to take home, when he spotted the old man sitting beside the bus stop, thin, trembling, and clutching his stomach as if each breath hurt. People walked past him as though he didn't exist. Cars rushed by, horns blaring, dust swirling around him. Yet he just sat there with eyes half closed, fighting to stay conscious. Rowan paused mid-step, something in his chest tightening painfully. The old man looked as though life had defeated him long before the sun had risen that day. Rowan thought about leaving, about rushing home to his 7-year-old daughter waiting for him, but something told him to stay. Something told him the world was watching this moment, that if you believe in kindness, humanity, and second chances, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Good Deed Stories right now. It helps us reach more hearts like yours. Rowan hadn't always been this soft-hearted, but life had carved empathy into him. His wife had passed away 3 years earlier, leaving him alone with a child, a stack of medical bills, and a grief so heavy he felt it in his bones. He worked every odd job he could find, cleaning, lifting, delivering, to keep their tiny 2-room apartment. Most days, money ran thin before the week even ended. His daughter, Kira, never complained, though she noticed. She was wise beyond her years. She'd hug him at night and whisper that things would get better. He wished he could believe her as deeply as she believed him. But on that warm day, with the bakery scent fading behind him and the street shimmering under daylight, Rowan felt the weight of his struggle more sharply than usual. He approached the old man. The man's clothes were frayed, his shoes torn at the sides, and his face told stories of battles fought alone. Rowan knelt and placed the warm bag into the man's trembling hands. The man opened his cloudy eyes, surprised, almost afraid to accept the gesture. Rowan smiled gently and told him it was okay, that everyone needed help sometimes. The old man nodded weakly and mouthed a thank you, though no sound came out. Rowan didn't know why, but he sat beside him for a moment, even though he was exhausted from work. He stayed because leaving felt wrong. The old man managed to eat a piece of bread, closing his eyes as if tasting food for the first time in days. Rowan noticed how the man held himself, careful, dignified even in brokenness. There was something unusual about him, something quietly proud. Eventually, Rowan stood, touched the old man's shoulder, and walked home with a strange sense that he had just done something bigger than he realized. Life returned to its challenges. Rowan's job grew more unstable. The bakery's business was slowing, and his boss hinted that hours might be cut. Kira needed new shoes, school books, things Rowan couldn't afford just yet. He hid his panic behind tired smiles. Every night he stayed awake, staring at the cracked ceiling, wondering how much longer he could hold things together. Yet Kira's laughter somehow stitched him back up each morning. She'd show him drawings she made in school, bright suns, tall trees, stick figures holding hands, and he felt hope flicker like a match against darkness. Still, the weight of survival pressed harder each day. One warm afternoon, Rowan walked home early, his work shift unexpectedly cut short again. As he turned the corner to their apartment, he saw a familiar figure sitting near the building, the same old man from the bus stop. Rowan's heart jumped. He approached quickly, asking if he was all right. The old man smiled with more strength this time and introduced himself as Mr. Branson. He explained he had been looking for Rowan for days, wanting to thank him properly. Rowan felt embarrassed, saying it was nothing, just food. But the old man insisted it was not nothing. He said it had been the first act of genuine kindness he'd received in years. They talked for a few minutes. Rowan learned that Mr. Branson had no family, no home, and no one who kept track of him. Rowan felt an ache in his chest. He had lost his wife, yes, but he still had one person who needed him. This man had no one. Without overthinking, Rowan invited him upstairs for a glass of water. Their apartment was small, simple, but full of warmth because of Kira. She greeted the old man with innocent curiosity, and Mr. Branson's eyes softened in a way Rowan hadn't seen before. The old man stayed for only a short while, not wanting to intrude, but Rowan sent him off with another small bag of food. When the door closed, Kira looked up at her father with a proud smile, saying she liked the old man because he had kind eyes. Rowan hugged her, wishing he could give her a life free from struggle. Days passed, each one feeling both identical and heavier. Rowan's hours at work were slashed further. Some nights, he skipped meals so Kira wouldn't have to. He never told her. He never told anyone. Pride and fear kept him silent. But he still looked for Mr. Branson whenever he could. He couldn't explain why, but he felt responsible for him, connected to him. Sometimes, kindness becomes its own invisible thread, tying strangers together in ways no one expects. One morning, Rowan left early to search for extra shifts around town. The sun warmed the streets, children played nearby, and vendors set up their stalls as the day awakened with life. As he walked, he spotted Mr. Branson again, this time sitting beside a grocery store, looking weaker than ever. Rowan rushed to him, worried. The old man smiled faintly and assured him he was fine, but Rowan wasn't convinced. He insisted on taking him back home. They walked slowly together. Rowan noticed how people stared, some with judgment, some with pity, but he ignored them. Anyone could fall. Anyone. Back at the apartment, Rowan made him tea and scrambled eggs. Mr. Branson ate gratefully, tears welling up. Rowan handed him a clean blanket to rest. Kira drew another picture, this time of 3 people, her dad, and the old man. She placed it gently beside him. He looked at it for a long time, then at Rowan, and said softly that he wished he had known people like them earlier in his life. That night, when Rowan finally had a moment to breathe, he found himself crying quietly in the kitchen. Not because he regretted helping, but because he feared a future where he might become just like the man he was helping, alone, forgotten, struggling. He wiped his tears before Kira saw. The next day changed everything. Rowan woke early, planning to take Mr. Branson to a shelter where he could get medical attention. But as he opened the door, he froze. A sleek black luxury SUV was parked outside the apartment building. The vehicle looked wildly out of place in their modest neighborhood. 2 men in suits stood near it, scanning the surroundings. Rowan's heart pounded. He wondered if something terrible had happened. Then one of the suited men approached him, asking if he was Rowan Hart. Rowan nodded cautiously. The man explained that they had been searching for him after locating Mr. Branson. Rowan panicked, thinking he was in trouble or that someone was upset with him for helping a stranger. The man quickly reassured him, requesting to speak with Mr. Branson directly. Inside the apartment, Mr. Branson slowly sat up when he saw the men. They addressed him with surprising respect, calling him Sir Aldrich Branson. Rowan's eyes widened. The room suddenly felt different. Rowan learned the truth in the next few minutes. Aldrich Branson was not a homeless man. He was a millionaire who had disappeared months earlier after suffering a stroke and emotional breakdown following the loss of his only son. He had walked away from his life, believing he had nothing left worth living for. His staff and estate managers had been searching for him ever since. Rowan felt speechless. Mr. Branson looked at Rowan and Kira with deep emotion. He explained that when Rowan fed him, when he invited him inside, when Kira drew him that picture, it restored a part of his heart he thought had died. He said the kindness they showed him with no expectation, no judgment, and no knowledge of who he truly was had changed him. It reminded him that even in a world so hardened by suffering, goodness still existed. What happened next brought Rowan to his knees. Mr. Branson announced that he wanted to repay Rowan, not with simple gratitude, but with a life-changing gift. Rowan tried to refuse, his pride screaming inside him, but Mr. Branson insisted that refusing was not kindness. It was punishment for a man who finally wanted to do good again. He revealed that he had set up a trust fund for Rowan and Kira, enough to clear their debts, secure a stable home, and give Kira opportunities Rowan had never dreamed of. He offered Rowan a job managing community outreach programs he planned to fund, programs inspired by the kindness Rowan had shown him. Rowan broke down, overwhelmed by the sudden brightness of hope after years of darkness. If this story touched your heart, if kindness like this still matters to you, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Good Deed Stories. Your support helps keep these real and emotional stories alive.